Greetings and blessings. Thank you for your presence and for all the love and support that you have poured towards this channel. I am grateful. I am grateful for your presence, and I am grateful for the presence of beloved Christ here with us during our study sessions with the Christ letter. And as we begin the session, let's take a few moments to ground our energy, expanding our heart space and relaxing into our each own's state of beingness, breathing in the light and releasing consciously all energies that does not serve our highest good. And as we continue to breathe in and release, if there's any muscle that seems to be clenching or clutching on for dear life, just release and relax. 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 As we now call upon beloved Christ and His golden luminous cosmic angels to come and enfold each of us, to charge our consciousness with cosmic divine light rays that uplifts our consciousness, our frequencies, so that we may have greater discerning intelligence, for greater wisdom, and therefore greater union between our consciousness with our higher self, our divine consciousness, with all that is. We offer our love and blessings and gratitude to beloved Christ and all His cosmic angels. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, beloved Christ, for thy mighty cosmic service unto this world, and for thy loving cosmic blessings and presence upon our each own lives. We are so grateful. And as we hold still for a minute, we are open and receptive to your outpouring of sacred fire, cosmic gold and luminous light, enfolding us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Adonai, Adonai, Adonai. So, as we begin the session, beloved Christ here will guide us to the pages and the statements that He wishes to offer us for today's topic, the coming of the Christ. And for those of you who are new here, we are studying from this book. This is the expanded version And it is a compilation of Beloved Christ's book, as in he authored this book through an individual known as simply the recorder, for he dictated these letters through this individual, which took 40 years in the making. Please kindly excuse the external noise if it came through the microphone. So these letters is a compilation of his letters. This book is a compilation of his letters, and the hard copy is available on Amazon and other online stores, while the electronic PDF version is available for free to download if you are guided to do so, for which the link is available in the description box as well as the pinned comment in the comments section. So his presence with us here guides us through the pages as my higher self communes with his overlighting presence, and I listen intuitively through active listening, and I relay the message for all of us here. And I have been guided to get a head start with the point of the first page that I've been guided, which is page number 3, in which he speaks of the purpose of these letters, as well as why he would like to mention this to piece up today's message of the coming of the Christ. So I will read a few statements that is directly from the page. I, the Christ, take this opportunity to speak directly to you. I have come to rectify the misinterpretations placed on the teachings given when known as Jesus in Palestine 2,000 years ago. These letters are truth. They transcend all religious doctrines in the world. These letters will liberate you. This point, I have come. So this is one of the baseline for the coming of the Christ. And when he speaks of I have come, it is his individualized Christ consciousness that has descended into the lower octaves of our realm, meaning our human consciousness of the physical realm, where he, because after his ascension, the Christ consciousness is a state of ever-expanding consciousness, and therefore his consciousness has expanded to infinity and beyond, that he has to lower his consciousness to be able to come down, lower down, to communicate with us. And as mentioned in the previous episodes, the frequency and his expanded consciousness at this point of time is not possible to embody in the physical vessel because of the nature of his ever-expanding consciousness. And therefore, in this, when he speaks of I have come, this is when he has come down in our consciousness, communicating to the recorder, and as well as here with us together to share. And these letters, he says, they are the truth. And as we know, his famous lines that are also quoted in the scripture from 2000 years ago. I am the way, the life. And so the truth, as we know, regardless of whether it has been 2000 years or 10,000 years or millennia or millions of years, the truth does ever and is ever the truth. And therefore, it is always the way to the expansion of our consciousness, the understanding of our existence, as well as the embodiment. For we know Christ is not just one individualized consciousness, it is the potential of our each own infinite individualized, infinite as in 10 billion, if we speak of planet Earth. So the potential of the 10 billion souls to arrive to a state of the universal, elevated, expanded consciousness that is known as the Christ consciousness. And this way, what is the way and who is this for? As I mentioned, for each of us, for a 10 billion. And therefore, the potential of all the people upon this world in an elevated, ascended embodiment of the Christ consciousness is the vision that we are each holding forth, that our each own higher selves, our souls, the oversouls, are holding as the divine vision for an ascended world. And therefore, these letters, how will this liberate you? It liberates us because the truth always does set us all free, setting us all free from all the doctrines and the dogmas and, well, the confusion of what is the truth. And he says that this is for the people that are searching for meaning to existence, purpose in their lives, and the strength to face the daily struggle to live and endure hardship, sickness, despair. And for those who are seeking the inspiration to aspire to greater spiritual awareness in their daily lives. You might say that these letters are a master's course for those who are ready to put foot to the path which I traveled when on earth in Palestine. When he says put foot to the path for those who are ready. The path he has mentioned while he was here, I am the way. And when he was speaking of I am, he wasn't speaking of his personalized human self, but the individualized presence, the Christ consciousness, the higher I am God presence. And so, in this context, when he speaks of put foot to the path, he is talking about the way. I am the way. And so the I am conscious presence, our higher self, the elevated Christ consciousness is the way. The divine higher discerning intelligence that is already the embodied state of our each own soul is the way. Meaning when we continue to ascend in our frequency, our I am God presence continues to become the higher driving force as the consciousness that becomes the way to greater expansion. And therefore he says that as you read these pages and go into the facts I'm giving you concerning existence and the origins of personality, you will realize that this truth could only have come from the highest source. And as we have mentioned in the previous episodes, these pages, these letters takes time to digest, to perceive, to comprehend. So it is always encouraged to take a page at a time, to meditate upon it, and call His presence to illuminate each of us as we seek the true meaning, to be able to perceive these letters. For He says that these pages are a direct link between our consciousness and to His Christ transcendent consciousness. Meaning, as we continue to read these pages, our conscious mind starts to absorb the greater meaning, the greater message. And what is enlightenment? Enlightenment is the conscious awareness of a truth that when our consciousness perceives it and is open and ready to perceive it and accept it through our conscious divine will, through our utilizing our human free will, that is when our consciousness expands, and that is when we allow ourselves to be illuminated, and therefore the enlightenment is the arrival of an expanded state of consciousness. And therefore these letters offers us a direct link to His ever-expanded consciousness, to what the way was when He was here in Palestine 2000 years ago, and His achievement. Meaning His achievement, for Christ is the universal conscious state of embodiment, His achievement is also the potential for each of us to achieve. And therefore His way, as in the Master's course that He's speaking of, the formula is the universal formula for each of us to arrive to that expanded state of consciousness where we resurrect the life, the I am consciousness, from every cell of our being to an elevated state of consciousness where miracles are a normal state of being. It becomes the new normal state of being. And He says that come to these letters with a mind as free, without prejudices, without all forms of beliefs and ideas. Come to Him. He invites us. Come to me as a little child, innocent and ready, as curious as a child. And He says, bring me your uncluttered mind, a seeking mind, and I will fill it with true treasure. The treasure of the highest knowledge, which as you absorb it, it will lighten your daily load and lead you into greener pastures of brightest light. And the brightest light is a metaphor that signifies abundance, joy, rapture, and fulfillment. The rapture is the state of awareness of the transcendent nature, which we will focus now upon by what he means by transcendent nature, for which I am guided to page number 17. And in this page, he speaks of the instance of his baptism. So as we know in the scriptures, it has been mentioned that he was baptized by beloved John the Baptist, and so he speaks of this particular incident and what happened during his baptism. He says that he was, to his surprise, he was overwhelmed with a cosmic charge of energy that he felt surging within his own beingness. And as he felt and received this energetic wave, he says, I felt a great wave of tremendous energy surge through my body. I was literally stunned by it. As I staggered out of the river, I felt myself elevated in consciousness in a most extraordinary way. A great inflow of glowing happiness uplifted me to a state of great ecstasy. I was enraptured and aware of a great light, and therefore that led him to his 40 days in the desert, the 6 weeks that he was in the desert. And so, during his time in the desert, he says that, please note, my 6 weeks in the desert were a time of total inner cleansing of my human consciousness. Old attitudes, beliefs, and prejudices were dissolved. The time has come. I have come. The time has come for me to share with receptive people all that I felt, saw, realized, and understood. So this, in today's session, is the second point that he wishes to share about his coming. Meaning, he is bringing to us, enlightening us about his experience in the desert, of what he saw and felt. Because he, at that point, because the collective consciousness was clearly not up to the par to be able to absorb the true details of the nature of that experience, and therefore he spoke in parables and tried to overlight the consciousness of the people as in the best possible way that was in divine will and divine alignment for the highest good of all, for those that sought to listen to him. And yet, in this point of time of our lives, of our consciousness, it is time for him to share the experiences of what he saw and felt. And so, the time has come. I have come. So this is the second time we are encountering the word come. 1 and 2. Here he speaks of the liberation. Here he speaks of the enlightenment and the experience of transcendence and enrapturement, if that's even a word, of, excuse me, the enrapture of the expansion of our consciousness, which he speaks of a tremendous surge of energy for the higher consciousness, the higher frequencies is always uplifting. And that's how we felt the surge of energy. And for those that are used to meditation practices, we know how we feel when we are in that state of conscious meditation, when we allow ourselves to be uplifted, when our vibration, our frequencies are raised up. It is nothing like what we experience in the daily hustle and bustle and the grind of the everyday toil and labor routines that we go through. And therefore, in the upliftment, in the higher frequencies, is when our consciousness feels the enrapture, the rapture, and the transcendence. Yet the key is, how do we bridge this gap? So let us focus on bridging the gap through today's message as he guides us about the awareness of the nature of existence. And I will quote a statement here. To help people abandon the age-old imaginative pictures of a biblical deity, or any deity for that matter, I will avoid referring to God by that word and will use a terminology designed to stretch your minds to embrace what really is beyond all earthly form, color, sound, emotion, and comprehension. Notice he speaks of beyond emotions as well. For the emotions are of the human nature, can blur, can put a veil over our own awareness and therefore our own comprehension of the true nature of our existence. And therefore he will use certain terminology in these letters that allows us to stretch our mind. And he says that what I felt when in the desert, I was uplifted into inner radiant light and felt vibrant and wondrously alive with power. I was filled with ecstasy and joy, and I knew beyond all doubt that this power was the true creator out of which all created things had been given their being. So this experience of this upliftment is the rising in his own frequency that he felt. And so he speaks of this glorious interior harmony, peace, and a sense of perfect fulfillment, needing nothing more to be added to that beautiful moment, was the very nature of the reality, the creative power, giving life to creation and existence. That was what he was enlightened to. That particular state of beingness was the creative power that gave life itself. So this creative power of mind, which is one of the terminologies that he uses to refer to God. And the mind, as we know, is the intelligence, the divine intelligence, the mind as the masculine principle. He speaks of this creative power of mind as ever expansive, infinite, expanding to all oceans, rivers, stars, you name it, beyond. And he saw that it was mind power, meaning divine intelligence. And he also realized that there was no point where this divine intelligence, the power of the mind, did not exist. And therefore he realized that we each are drawn from this intelligence. And therefore, the human mind, I realized that human mind was drawn from divine creative mind, but was only a candle lit by the sun. Meaning, if the human intelligence, the divine, this expansive, creative source, divine intelligence that has been drawn forth, if the intelligence of the human mind is, he compares it to a candlelight of the infinite sun. So therefore you can imagine the sun, light, rays, and the human. The expansiveness of the sun and of the human mind intelligence. He brings this to our awareness that the potential of drawing in from source light allows us the capacity. He speaks of his human side at times being so spiritually enlightened that he was able to see through forms, colors, sound, through the rocks. And he mentions the shimmer of modes, which we have discussed in the last episode as what science calls as electrically charged particles. And therefore, he says that it was then he realized that when he had this conviction of perceiving it, he could see through it. But there were times when he doubted this appearance, the true nature of existence, it was then the phenomenon stopped taking place. So he speaks of conviction, for if we are a part that is drawn from the infinite source, the expansive nature, we also carry the infinite potential of cosmic divine intelligence. But to be able to perceive the true reality, it requires our frequency to be ascended, to be so spiritually elevated in energy, in our frequencies, that we are able to perceive the true nature. However, that it comes with the condition that we have to have that conviction. And conviction, as we know, is unwavering faith. And therefore, to be able to perceive the true reality, when our frequency is ascended through our elevation of our energy, it also requires our willpower to be utilized as conviction. We are each given free will upon this world as individualized presence, and therefore the will, as the willpower, it is a power where it is our choice where to wield this power or utilize this power. So when we use through our greater receptivity to be elevated, to understand and seek the true nature of existence without getting sidetracked, or without utilizing our free will, without utilizing our power that we can draw in more from the infinite source that is created, or as the creative mind power of all that is, if we are able to utilize that and bring in or source in to be able to arrive through the conviction, faith, utilizing our willpower to have that conviction in seeking the true existence, the true nature of our existence, it is then that we are able to see what human beings would consider as miracles. For the sun, in the sense the ever-expanding, illuminating divine intelligence, when we are able, through claiming this birthright that we have, that by virtue of being drawn from this expansive nature and therefore also the divine power and therefore our spiritual inheritance, our divine birthright, and through utilizing our given free will, we use that, work in tandem with the infinite source and our free will. Through conviction and faith, we are able to perceive it. And therefore, he says that when he realized the true nature of existence, he also realized that he could. It was at this point that I came to realize the powerful effect that conviction or unwavering faith had on the environment when stating a command or even a belief. What was even more startling was my mind opening, the cosmic consciousness realization that all I had been witnessing was really the creative power or divine mind itself made visible in the shimmer of tiny motes. Not only this, its appearance could be profoundly affected by the activity of human thought. He speaks in page number 19. He states that through the conviction and the faith to be able to perceive the true nature, there was also another phenomenon, that the appearance of the world was directly correlated or in correlation or in codependence with the activity of the human thought. Meaning what we perceive and we feel is what takes place, is what takes shape. However, we have to remember that we are not just one candlelight in this vast expanse of this earthly experience. So therefore, all the souls, all the humans that has incarnated and through the beliefs and the collective frequency, if the greater amount of that frequency or the awareness perceives the reality to be a certain way, like a democracy, the greater amount of that perception is what takes form and shape. And so even on the basics of level, the way the birds sees this world, perceives this world, is so much different from the way the human eye can perceive, and so does other animals. Yet the perception level of what is a different degree, and the manifestation of that reality is on a higher degree that depends on the activity of the human thought. And therefore, while the whole world at the moment may, in this, for example, within this particular moment in time, may find it difficult to grasp the true nature of reality and therefore give away the power to actually co-create a world that is on a higher ascended plane of consciousness, plane of reality, it is still important, nevertheless, that we each that are aware upon this awakening path continue to hold this in conviction and faith to individually have our lives be the embodiment of the true perception of reality, and therefore as the frequency continues to rises, eventually the ultimate populace will arrive. For when the frequency rises, even the collective frequency as well rises, and therefore this is when change takes place. And in this context, he also speaks of, I'm guided to page number 66. So in page number 67, he speaks, I will read out the statement. You are sorely, and this is the dialogue, the statement that he was speaking to the people that had gathered to listen to him. And he says, you are sorely pressed down and worry. Your tasks grow heavier as you get older. Your bellies are often empty. Your clothes get threadbare. People make you angry, and you feel that there is no end to your trouble and heaviness of spirit. But this is not the truth concerning your existence. Your lives were intended to be very different. If you could only see beyond your feelings, the human emotions, the feeling which is also generated by the degree of our perception of our reality, and therefore when we feel as less than, that is what the emotions is generating and attracting more of that. And therefore, if you could only lift your minds to make contact with the Father, which in this context he means the I am presence within you, if you're able to make contact with the Father within you, the I am presence within you, you will be able to see, quote unquote, see and know what your state of existence should be. I am still brought back to the vision, the view of the birds. You can search it up. The view of the birds, they see it. As we speak about ultraviolet rays, they are able to see a certain different spectrum, and therefore when he sees us, when they see us in a different, beyond the flesh, beyond the shell, they are able to see and perceive. And so that is the perception of the birds. Imagine the collective perception when they are able to see the true reality, and then we are able to bend reality, space, time, matter through our conviction and faith. Imagine. We all would have perhaps crystal palaces. So, we will speak about the bending reality, time, space further. But let us just continue. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is a side note to myself. Here, in page number 68, he says, you judge your todays and expect of your tomorrow what you have experienced in the past. Therefore are the ills of your yesterdays continually repeated in the future. You are enslaved by your memories and your undeviating belief that what was past must return again and again to burden and wound you. You do not need to heal your bodies or to try to make your lives better. You need to heal your beliefs. I have told you there is nothing solid under the sun. He tried. He did say back then that about the true nature of existence, which, as we know, is not mentioned in the scripture, but that's another side note. Let's carry on. He speaks in this page about good and evil experiences. The duality, the human consciousness, we allow our experience to be categorized, to be labeled as good and bad, or good and evil. And therefore what we believe is what we are giving power to, and that is what we are generating those experiences. And therefore, it is, he says, your beliefs in good and evil obscure, cloud over all that the Father, the I Am Presence, has in store for you if you only believe in Father love, the Divine Mother's presence, meaning the feminine essence, the love, the grace, will, and love. And in the last episode, we spoke of the fulfillment, the divine feminine principle of love as the ever fulfilling, that exists to fulfill our every need or our every desire to experience life. He speaks that this presence, the I Am Presence, the divine intelligence through that source that we have derived ourselves from, it exists to fulfill our life. And if we know and believe with conviction that this is the true state of our beingness, that is what we will generate. We as a collective and as individuals, we will continue to focus on what can we generate more as our experience in an ascended frequency. What can we generate as abundance, joy, rapture, fulfillment, rather than recycling our old thoughts, beliefs, because what we are believing is what we are generating. And we are giving power to the good and evil, which is the duality. We are called to rise above and release this. Because when we give power, what is good for another may be evil for another. It all depends on the subjective perception of each through each one's experience. And therefore, when we release this belief, when we allow ourselves to cleanse, that is when the true divine power will be able to come through. In a sense, our feeling body will be more intensified because we have released all the shackles, and therefore we are more empowered through the purification of our consciousness, which he himself went through during the 6 weeks in the desert. So when he speaks of beliefs, he speaks of true intention. Because here's the thing, intention is feeling, the expression of feeling. And therefore the expression of feeling, this intention, when it is pure, meaning undiluted by the layers of indoctrinations, when it is pure, in the essence, we are able to draw in, we are able to match the frequency of the infinite intelligence, and we are able to draw in the cosmic law of fulfillment, the divine power. We are able to utilize divine power in action to be able to bring forth the fulfillment and abundance in our lives. If you could heal your beliefs, bring your beliefs in line with the true intention, the Father presence for you, the wrong beliefs governing your body and lives would dissolve like a mist in the sun. Your every circumstance would immediately come back to the divine intention behind all creation, which is to fulfillment and abundance of life itself. And you will find that for every difficulty, for every lack of every kind, there's always a means to end the difficulty. There's always a filling of your basket to meet your need. Speaking of baskets, we have heard of the miracles of the 5,000 loaves that happened back in the day. He speaks of the refilling of the basket through the power of intention which he exercised as the fulfillment of the principle of life itself. He further states, "What do you think happens when the sick come to me and I lay my hands upon them? Am I thinking about the illness? Am I wondering if the person will be healed? Am I afraid the Father may be sleeping? Or if so, so far away, I cannot be heard? No. If these were my disbelieving thoughts, there would be no healing. When a person approaches me for healing, I immediately rejoice because I know that the power, which is the Father, is within me, ready and waiting to heal the moment I ask. I give thanks because I know that the Father's will is health, not sickness. The Father's will be done in the sick person. That's what I pray. And as I remove the belief in sickness from the sick person's body and know that the Father's will of health is flowing into his system, so does the appearance of sickness change into the reality of Father health, and the body is made whole once again. Here again, we are brought to understand the power of conviction and faith. When we align our power, our human will, as the matching frequency of divine will, in the true conviction and in the knowing through the comprehension of our true state of existence, we are able to bring forth what was termed as miracles back in the day. For He, beloved Christ, performed all the healing miracles through his conviction and faith by harnessing the willpower in line, in tandem with the fulfillment of the divine willpower of Father or God or I am presence. For the highest source, at the highest source of existence, it seeks to experience life. And therefore God or creative power mind or divine intelligence comes forth as the action principle through the divine power of will of the fulfillment of love as the Divine Mother's presence, together through our surrender, through our purification, and through our expansion of frequency. Therefore, these three aspects, when it comes together, this is when the miracle of life happens. He was able to heal and bring forth the healing, for it is the will of life itself to be of health and abundance, not of illness. And therefore, coming back to the good and evil, the will of the highest source of expansion, for the light always expands, it is the darkness that constricts. So therefore the will of the highest, at the highest level of existence, the ever-expanding consciousness always seeks to fulfill life. And therefore, how can God be a judgmental God when it seeks to be the fulfillment of life? Meaning, how can God be of two parts, of good and evil? Because if the acceptance of the evil exists, then the power is split, and therefore this expansive nature then is an obscured reality for the human consciousness. And therefore when we allow the belief in the two powers, or the lack of faith, or belief in illnesses, or the woundings of our past, we give that power away, then there is a split in the consciousness, in the divine willpower. And when there is a split, that is what we manifest in our lives. It is only in your minds that you conceive good and evil, only in your hearts you think and feel it. These thoughts and feelings have nothing to do with the true God, which is the Father within you, the I Am Presence, that brings you every good thing, if you will but believe it so. I will bring a short description on this nature of the yesterdays and the tomorrows, the recycling that I mentioned earlier. Let's say yesterday, today, tomorrow. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. When we believe in the experience of good and evil, this is what we have experienced. And in our today, if we believe in that, we are drawing forth that into our belief, which we are then projecting it out into our tomorrow. Meaning, our yesterday becomes our future. Meaning, what is known as the outpicturing, meaning of what we visualize or give our attention and a power to, that is what we are projecting it, we are outpicturing it, we are manifesting it. And therefore, if we believe in the ills and the wounds of yesterday, not saying that we should not acknowledge the learning experience, but if our attention is constantly on the ills, then we are giving it power and we are powering it up, and therefore the energy we are bringing it into our future. And therefore tomorrow is actually a recycling of the past, because the tomorrow is actually never a mystery. Meaning, we are already in our present moment out picturing and creating that tomorrow of what we call as human experience in our linear time experience in this realm. And that is also, we have created that through our belief, but that is another side note. But this experience from yesterday is what we are powering it up, which we are then again manifesting. So it's like a whole vicious cycle of manifestation of what was, and therefore, in fact, it is no mystery at all. There is no adventure to life at all. In fact, it is just a recycling of what happened, which is what we are feeling, and therefore that becomes our present reality, as well as the reality that we face moving forward. And therefore, the true power remains upon our understanding, our conviction, our acceptance, our seeking, our discipline in purifying ourselves out of the indoctrinations of the consciousness that has been absorbed by the collective, the majority of the collective. And I'm guided to read another statement from page number 60. From page number 69, I'm guided to read, "In reality, you live the truth of existence. In reality, you live within the kingdom of heaven, and the kingdom of heaven is within you, and you are governed by the Father, by the I Am Presence. But because you believe in punishments from God, believe that only sacrifices in the temple will save you, believe that you are here to sickness, poverty, misery, you create with your minds the very things you do not want. Be not downcast, rejoice and be glad, and know that those who experience lack, far from being punished and abandoned by God, even though they have sinned, are truly blessed." And this is what he spoke to those people at that time. And when he speaks of not to be downcast, it still applies in our reality. Do not give in to the powers of the belief in evil, the wretchedness, the illness. Let's not give that power away. Let's allow, through our divine power, through the conviction and faith that the I Am Presence, the Father Presence, in tandem with the Mother Presence, meaning the love, fulfillment of love principle acting in our lives, seeks to fulfill. The fulfillment is the Divine Mother's presence, the feminine principle of nurturing and fulfilling that is powered by will, and the Father, the intelligence, will bring forth into manifestation. And therefore, he says that even though they have sinned, this was what he stated back then, they are all truly blessed. Meaning, whatever we consider and perceive as sin, if we release and surrender, or do not power up or do not charge up through our belief, we release all that and we allow the purification process to happen. We allow our frequencies, and as we allow our frequencies to elevate, our lives, what happens in spirit manifests in our reality. Things start to align. Our bodies start to heal. For the Father, the I Am Presence, the Divine Mother's presence seeks to fulfill our lives, to make our lives an expression of fulfillment. And I will quickly bring in page number 88. We just crossed the 8-8 portal, meaning the 8-8 synchronicity date yesterday, and I am guided to page number 88. And he says, this is the statement that he offered unto them: "Come unto me, you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. My yoke is light and my burden easy." He says that they knew when I spoke those words as frequently as I did, I was comparing the rules and laws of the Jewish leaders with the truth I was presenting to the people. For back in the day, as even now, there is this punishing God, and therefore, even as he spoke things of fulfillment and love, there was still this fear within the people that the God that they believed in would punish them for believing in his words, and therefore he would constantly, frequently tell them, "Come unto me, I will lighten your burdens." And they were drawn to that love, for even within the capacity of that consciousness in which they existed 2000 years ago, the divine intelligence of their soul within them was receptive to the truth that he spoke. And because he was seeking to enlighten them through the comprehension of the true nature of their existence as the fulfillment of Divine Mother's love. And thus, as he spoke of love, they were drawn to the love and peace that he offered. That even now, each of us in this world, as all souls that have incarnated, we are all seeking that peace presence, that love presence, that is a universal language beyond all the doctrinations of religions, that universal love, the fulfillment of life. And therefore, he continued to speak to them in parables, and there is one incident he speaks of the sheep and the goats, and in this page, on page number 90, he speaks of the goats that would constantly stray, and this straying, he was using it as a metaphor to the condition of the human mind that seeks to constantly stray and focus on the external appearance of the world. And therefore, there's a statement that I want to bring in here. So is it with people who have no regard for what they feed their minds with, since they have no fixed goal or clear purpose. Like goats, they do not recognize when mental food is harmful or is taking them in the directions they should not go in their daily lives, whether it will lead them into harmful myth or dangerous fallacy. And so he speaks of the mind that tends to stray, like the goats that have been straying within the herd, between goats and sheep, which he brings in as analogy and examples and metaphors. The human mind that tends to stray, because we have been given as free will, it is up to us, as mentioned, how we utilize our will to place our attention upon, and what to be consciously be aware of what to take the responsibility of what we are feeding our minds, and thereby owning that the power that we have can either manifest the abundance or the lack, because we have been given that free will. It is up to us how we utilize that. And therefore, in the true knowing, in the comprehension of our true divine nature, we are able to arrive at a space of ascended frequency, the elevated frequency, and slowly but surely, and through the conviction, we can also accelerate the expansion of our frequency and arrive to the true nature of our beingness, that is the arrival of the Christ consciousness in us, through us, as us. And therefore, we will conclude this session with the understanding that additional pages have been 88 and 90. conclude the third point, the piecing of the coming of the Christ as allowing ourselves to be the expanded frequency, the expanded nature through the comprehension of the true reality, the truth of existence, and that is the true coming of the Christ in each of us. In each of us, where we are each a seed that carries the potential of the illuminating sun presence, the ever-expanding cosmic divine light, divine power mind, divine intelligence, ever-expanding, ever-fulfilling, and therefore constantly be the coming of the Christ, constantly elevate, and who knows the degree to which we will arrive as the embodiment of the Christ consciousness, as the resurrection and the life of the power and the love of the Christ. I am the resurrection and the life, ever expanding as the divine power and divine love in union as the truth of our each own existence. I am so grateful that I have this opportunity to share beloved Christ's cosmic illuminating presence, intelligence as the fulfillment of divine love in action. And so let us take a moment to acknowledge and give gratitude to His presence. Mighty I am God presence through our each own higher Christ self. We offer our love and our blessings and our infinite gratitude to beloved Christ. We are so grateful, beloved Christ, for Thy loving cosmic presence upon our lives, for Thy ever nurturing, enfolding, illuminating presence upon our lives. We are so grateful. And as you have mentioned, the greatest gift that a soul can ever give to another is the illumination, the truth of existence, the truth of life itself. And we are so grateful to have this blessing, this gift through your cosmic divine presence upon our lives. We accept almighty cosmic divine interventions of sacred fire, miracle manifestations of immortal purity, power and protection, now fully active, and manifest in our consciousness, in our being, in our lives and world. And so it is. Almighty Christ, I am. Almighty Christ, I am. Almighty Christ, I am. Thank you, beloved Christ. We are so grateful. Adonai, Adonai, Adonai. Peace and blessings. I will look forward to communing with you in the next episode. Bye.